Hi, I'm Sonia Luna, CEO of Aviva Spectrum. My guest today, which I'm very excited, is the president of QuickFee, Kyle Redding. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you, Sonia. Excellent introduction. I appreciate that. I'm happy to be here. I've been looking forward to it all week.
That's right. We've been excited as well on our end about this interview because we have a lot of compliance professionals that listen to the show and they download it. We've seen like well over 40,000 archive listens. And here's what I think they're going to take away, which is very important. It's going to be important tips on how to advise CEOs of both the upcoming lending compliance changes, but more importantly, like what is it that we need to really evaluate, how to calculate what's the best lending fit for an organization. And Kyle, I know you've researched this commercial lending field for well over a decade now. Okay, can you share with our listeners what mega trends have you seen in the commercial lending space?
Yeah, thanks, Sonia. I think what we're going to see in the next, 6 to 12 months and possibly, just beyond that, here in the U.S. is a massive shift in technology. We're starting to see it already on the consumer lending side, where you have, easier loan origination. It's all paperless. On the business side, you're going to start seeing, as businesses shift into the cloud, banks are going to be able to sync that information and get real-time underwriting data directly from their accounting software. This is going to flow through to fraud prevention and detection from the lender's side. And I think you'll also see some international credit reporting creep into the U.S., with globalization. And Equifax just bought Australia's largest, pretty much they have a monopoly, credit reporting agency called Vita. Equifax just bought them, so I think you'll see some of Vita's technology start flowing through over to the U.S. as well, which will make a significant difference for international companies as they come into the U.S. Anyone who's spent time in, overseas who is now back in the U.S. setting up a business or doing business, you'll definitely see a lot of this stuff coming through to the commercial lending space, which should make things easier, much faster, and a lot better, from the borrower's experience and the bank's experience.
Right. So it sounds like technology, but when you take that category of mega trends of technology, the process of getting that loan started, all the way from starting probably all the way to finish. In addition, cloud services, maybe even servicing that loan is going to be in the cloud now. And then there's international markets that are impacting the lending compliance space. And we've seen it sometimes with our clients where they have multi-locations and the financing or the banking relationship, I should say, seems to be sporadic, right? It's a pop over here, it's a pop over there, it's a pop over here, but you're like, well, wait a minute. What is it about the security of that loan, right, that makes it so risky just because it's in a different country when the main corporate office, the thought leaders are really, there's a hub of where they're at, and the business model is going to be executed similarly, right, to that location internationally. And then I'm sure some international folks also have ups and downs, like, Greece has some issues, Spain has issues, et cetera. And so they want to ratchet down on their regulations. And it doesn't mean that their regulations are better or worse than ours. It's that lending relationship. I think we are starting to see that the impact at the international level, sometimes the banks are starting to look at what's happening internationally and saying, hey, that's a pretty good idea, that particular item. Why aren't we adopting it? The federal government hasn't imposed it on us, but that's actually a really good idea for Foreign Corrupt Practices Act or to catch it, et cetera. So there is I'll call it international compliance creep, if you will, coming in, which is amazing. I'm glad that and I didn't know that fact about Equifax because it's a huge player in the U.S. I mean, folks that go through just the general lending process know the top three, right? And Equifax happens to be one of them. Now, I wanted to get into being a true advisor. We have a lot of compliance professionals out on our radio show that download, and one key aspect of being a good CPA, internal auditor, CFA, et cetera, is you give good advice, or at least you give enough questions to that key executive where they pause, right? They think, I hadn't thought about it that way. What can you tell us? What advice would you give to compliance professionals to make a better impact when they are advising the clients on financing options?
Yeah. It's a good point you made about asking the right questions. I think that is probably the most important thing. Understanding the needs and the objective for their clients obtaining that financing. It's not always the best idea. This might sound crazy, but just shopping for the lowest interest rate isn't necessarily the best way of going about this. You got to look at the opportunity cost. What are the demands of getting this money now versus do I have time to wait and find a lower amount or lower cost of capital somewhere else? Doing their research and understanding what platforms are out there to draw in the right financing or who has the appetite for this particular client's need. There's a group out there called Biz2 Credit, BIZ2 Credit, and they've got this platform that allows a broker or a CPA firm or someone like that to plug in and put in sort of the key terms of what their client's looking for and pull from instead of the CPA having their 4 referral sources at 4 different banks locally. This allows them to plug into, maybe up to 2,000 lenders around the country. So you might be able to find the best, deal that way. So it's more than just finding the lowest rate. It's understanding the needs of that client and what they want to do with the money and what their plan is, off the back of getting that money, using it for what they need and moving on.
I know we're wrapping up this interview, and I just want to say how confident I am our listeners gain phenomenal insight on what to measure when advising, their clients on their financing options. So thank you, Kyle, for coming on our radio show.
No worries, Sonia. Thanks for having us. This was great. I enjoyed chatting with you, and yeah, I hope people do take away a little bit something from this conversation. Pulling from experience in Australia where banking is definitely way ahead of where it is in the United States. I hope I added a little value to or at least some extra insights to the listeners.
You absolutely did. And where can they find you? What's a good place to find you?
Well, we've got a little bio up on our website at QuickFee.com. I think you guys are showing a little picture. But we're based in Santa Monica. We work with CPA firms and law firms, and we're usually bouncing around all over the country to different CPA conferences and legal conferences, trying to meet as many firms as we can. But yeah, anyone wants to reach out, I'd love to chat with them.
Awesome. Well, this is Sonia Luna, CEO and founder of Avia Spectrum, signing off.